Hello, this is part two of my video titled Angela Seeks Federal Justice for Barbara, Part 2. What I'm going to speak about in this video is about my deceased sister. When my sister passed away in 1975 at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, California, my mother was a registered nurse for 4 years in 1975. The law back then was if you are a registered nurse, you cannot work on your own child. My mother was running around the hospital like a chicken with her head cut off trying to get help for her daughter Denise. One of the doctors, he was a white doctor. My sister was black. I'm not trying to sound racist, but I'm telling the truth. A white doctor told my mother, Barbara, you want me to help your baby? Give her here and let me help your baby. He laid my sister down, overdosed her with the wrong heart medication, and my mother flipped out and she snapped, and she wasn't right after that. She watched her baby die in front of her face at 3 years old. How do you think you would have felt? How do you think you would have reacted? A whole lot of people would have reacted the same way. So after her daughter's passing in 1975 on Christmas Eve, she never got to see anything she got for Christmas. That was the worst Christmas of my life. We buried my sister when I was 8 years old. She's buried in Inglewood Cemetery in Babyland. Okay, so what happened that not only when my mother met this man named Howard Gerard, and my mother had $1 million lawsuit, but because of the frame of mind she was in, she wasn't in the right frame of mind to sue. She was told Jehovah Witnesses can't sue hospitals. They can't sue doctors. You leave it alone and let Jehovah take care of it. I'm sorry, Jehovah don't mean be stupid. He created man and gave everybody a brain. Okay, here is a picture of Howard Gerard with my mother on this picture right here. And one day, when I was living in Inglewood, California, I was living with my mother on Osage and Arborvitae. And my mother was a faithful Jehovah Witness, and she was doing street corner work. She was giving out watchtowers in the wake. And one of the nurses where my mother used to work at, she used to work at Big General Hospital on State and Soto Street. This organization, to me, it sounds like it's some type of a cult. Run from these Jehovah's Witnesses and run from this man named Howard Gerard. These people are totally insane. They are crazy. This is a delusional, dysfunctional religion. Get away from this organization. Don't think about getting yourself involved with it. My mother was doing street corner work in front of 7-Eleven across the street from Hollywood Park in Inglewood, California. And a lady named Miss Tancredi, who used to give my mother a hard time at Big General Hospital, she walked up to my mother and she told my mother, Barbara, we want you to come back and work for us, and we're willing to pay you $60 an hour. Howard stepped up and he told the lady, she's not interested in that. She's not interested in that. I take care of everything and she's been well taken care of. So my mother, she let that job go. That was $9,600 a month she could have been making. But this man, he never wanted my mother to have anything from her first marriage. My mother did not know this man in 1975 or in 1972 when she had my little sister. He got rid of everything from her first marriage. He didn't want her to have nothing, but it was okay for him to have everything he had. He even moved my mother into the house that him and his first wife lived in on 6th Avenue. Who does that? Okay, I don't know why my mother moved into their house. I don't know, and I can't speak for her. But I will tell you this. Children's Hospital of Los Angeles sent my mother a check in the mail because they wrongfully killed my sister in 1975, $1 million check. Howard Gerard was so pissed off because he was not going to get any of that money. He told my mother, Barbara, you can't keep that $1 million check. You need to send that back to Children's Hospital and let Jehovah take care of it. So, yeah, sadly, she sent $1 million check back to Children's Hospital. But what about her daughter who's alive, her daughter Angela? Okay, I could have had my own house paid for had my mother gave me my dead sister's money. But Howard didn't want that, so whatever Howard said, it basically went. Okay, I don't know who this man think he is. I don't know. But they got married in 1988, and he's so controlling and so crazy. His mother went inside a bridal shop and picked out my mother's wedding dress. Who does that? If that's not the most insane thing I ever heard of. But my mother, she fell for it because she was not in the right frame of mind. She had a chemical imbalance. This is what happens when you have a chemical imbalance. Okay, you can't fault her. This man took advantage of my mother. This man needs to be investigated by the federal government. So later on in the 1980s, 1990s, my mother started coming to me and she started saying, every time I'm with Howard, every time I eat something, my stomach starts hurting. This man he started poisoning my mother. He poisoned her. But she never went to the doctor. And when she did decide to go to the doctor, I don't know what doctor she went to. I don't know where the documentation is. I don't know where anything is because by that time I was grown. I had my own family. I had my own kids. I was not living with her anymore. But I will tell you, this man, he is deranged. One day, this man was taking me someplace and I was getting out of the car. He stuck his cheek out and pat his cheek and told me to give him a kiss on his cheek. I told him, hell no, and I got out the car and I closed the door. The man is totally, totally crazy. He goes around, this is a picture of him with my mother. He goes around and he walks around with a camera everywhere he goes. And what this man does, he takes pictures everywhere he goes. I have two pictures that I'm going to show you. When I had my first daughter in 1991, I went to Madeira, California. And I went to the Kingdom Hall. I took my daughter to the Kingdom Hall when she was very, very young. This is a picture. These are the type of pictures Howard Girard goes around snapping of people. You could be sitting in the car. This man will take a picture of you. He turns his head and he looks at you while you're sitting in the back seat. And he's taking pictures and he's talking. He's driving on the freeway. How many people drive on the freeway and don't look straight ahead? He drives on the freeway and he looks behind himself talking to you. Here is another picture. Who goes around taking pictures of somebody's ass? You married to my mother. Why are you taking pictures of my ass? What is your problem? This man is totally, totally crazy. This is what I'm talking about. Leave these foreigners out here alone. This is a picture of my mother. Did you show us? Yeah. This is a picture of my mother. She was 42 years old. Girl looked good for 42 years old. Gotta give it to her. That's my mother in a blue dress. That's Barbara. That is my mother. She was known as Barbara Ann Williams, Barbara Ann Goodlow, and unfortunately, Barbara Ann Girard. Anyway, my mother and Howard, they were separated longer than they were married. They were separated for 15 years or more. My mother moved to Lancaster, California, and after Lancaster, she lived in other apartments in Inglewood, California, and she finally moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. She moved to Henderson, Nevada, and when she moved to Henderson, she kept coming to me and she kept saying she was sick. She kept saying she was sick, but nobody didn't believe her because she had a chemical imbalance. Okay, I can't stress that enough. So she came to me, she said she was sick, and then finally on August the 10th, 2015, my mother went to a hospital here in Henderson, Nevada. It's called St. Rose Dominican Medical Center on Boulder Highway in Lake Mead. in Henderson, Nevada. So I get a phone call on August the 10th. My daughter calls me and she tells me, she says, Mama, your auntie wants to speak to you. And I'm going, okay, what does she want to speak to me about? So when I get on the phone and I talk to my auntie Brenda tells me, your mother been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and she only has 2 months to live. All this happened on August the 10th. When I finally reached my destination and got to my mother's address, we took my mother to cancer center treatment centers out here in Henderson, Nevada. This man had the nerve to call my mother, and he whines when he talks. He called my mother, and all he could think about is, oh, well, let's get you down here. He called my mother. He said, Barbara, I thought you were coming down here to California. He's so whiny and he's so disgusting. He gets on your nerves. He's just annoying. My mother was sick, and you couldn't think of nothing else but how to get her. So when she passed, because if she passed away in Henderson, Nevada, he would have to pay for her to be flown back down to Inglewood, California. Okay, so now we get to the part where my mother's in Inglewood. She went to Inglewood, California. She wanted to go stay in a hotel room. One of her sisters explained it to me. She wanted to stay in a hotel room by a beach. This evil son of a bitch told my mother he wasn't giving her no money to stay in no hotel room by no beach. How evil can you be? You work for the damn government for 20 to 30 years. He went behind her back. My mother kept saying, Howard, you got life insurance on me. You have life insurance on me, don't you? He kept lying. He kept telling her, no, I haven't put no life insurance out on you. I don't have no insurance on you. One of my little cousins told me my mother kept telling him that he had life insurance on her. So anyway, my mother was at UCLA Medical Center, and that was the first hospital she went to. Let me back up. The first hospital my mother went to was Kaiser in Fontana, California. She stayed in Kaiser for a couple of weeks. She checked out of Kaiser. She went to UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles County, which is the beginning of Beverly Hills, California. When she goes there, she has a biopsy done in the first week of September. And I know my mother had a biopsy because her sister, Brenda, I was talking to my sister. Just because I couldn't be there doesn't mean that I did not know what was going on with my mother. I knew exactly what was going on. This is a copy of my mother's death certificate. On this death certificate, it says a biopsy was not performed. That is not true because I talked to my auntie Brenda, and my auntie told me in the first week of September of 2015 that UCLA performed a biopsy on my mother, and she was there the day that my mother had the biopsy done. This is now January 12, 2017. Where is the biopsy results? We still haven't got the biopsy results. It doesn't take this long. It does not take a year and 4 months for nobody's biopsy results to come back because they were diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I'm sorry. This is a bunch of bull. Okay. So, September, now we get to the most drastic part. September the 29th, 2015 was a Tuesday afternoon at 1:37 p.m. That was the day my mother took her last and final breath. She was in 5 different hospitals before she took her last breath. She died in West Covina at a hospital in West Covina, California. And when she took her last breath, from what I was told, I called the hospital myself and I spoke to a nurse named Kathy. So Kathy told me at 1:37 p.m. she officially passed away. This man is such a good manipulator, controller, and a good liar. He actually tried to have my mother cremated the same day she passed away. This concludes part 2 of my video.